you tired of fat fingering your keyboard and dying? Why are we reloading? Or you don't understand why you keep getting killed from places you can't see? In this video, I'll be going over all in-game settings and in-video control panel settings and logic behind certain keybinds I use in the game to improve your overall experience in Tarkov and give you a better chance at PvP in Tarkov. To start, we'll go into game settings. If you scroll all the way down in game settings, you'll see head bobbing, FOV, automatic RAM cleaner, and only use physical cores. I have my head bobbing set to 0.2 and my FOV set to 75. FOV is entirely preference. However, I wouldn't recommend going below 63 FOV, as at that point, it's a bit too zoomed in and it might feel a bit clunky playing the game. For example, here's what the game looks like at 63 FOV. You can see everything looks a bit bigger, everything feels closer to you. And when running around, you'll feel faster. You feel faster when you run around. In 75 FOV, you'll feel a bit slower, but you will be able to see more. But things will look further away. So these are my graphic settings. However, you shouldn't keep them one-to-one to mine, because I run a completely different setup to you, most likely, as here are my specs. I play on a laptop, and I usually play very low settings. However, I have specific settings which are turned on to allow me to see better in Tarkov. To start, I have my LED quality at 2.5, overall visibility at 1000, as I'm usually not fighting over 1000 meters. My clouds quality is low. My anti-aliasing is TAA high. However, I do like playing with no anti-aliasing, but I found that TAA high with adaptive sharpening looks better on recordings, so that's why I have this on. My volumetric lighting is off because this is killing your FPS. Do not turn this on. I don't use DLSS, however you can, but it doesn't affect my rig that much. Do not use resampling ever. It's not useful. Like, if you do use 2x super sampling, your game will look a lot sharper, but you're rendering double the amount of frames, which is not as effective as just playing on 2K, so don't turn this on. My HPAO is on max performance, as it makes the game look a lot better without the cost of performance. My SSR is low, as screen space reflections actually increase the brightness in dark corners. And to finish off, my anisotropic filtering is on per texture. You can have it on, it looks better, but I don't because my performance will drop. I have NVIDIA reflex low latency on as well. However, if you're using frame generation or anything like that, I suggest turning this off, but I have it on. Sharpness is at 0.7, and these are the rest of my miscellaneous settings. I only have Streets of Tarkov low resolution mode on. Moving on to my post effects, I have my brightness at -10. The reason I have my brightness at -10, which you might be like, why is it -10? You want the game to be brighter, right? Having this brighter will increase the effect of flashlights on you. So if someone's shining a flashlight at you, you will get blinded. So having this more than 30, I usually see that the brightness of flashlights is unbearable. But having it at -10 actually reduces the brightness of the flashlight, making it easier to fight when someone's shining a flashlight in your face. Clarity is at 0 because clarity and luma sharpen, when increased, will decrease your FPS. However, clarity I don't see that much effect from, so I just have it at 0 to save FPS. However, luma sharpen I have at 50, which you can see it actually makes the game a bit more bright in some areas. This acts like contrast in my opinion. I only have it at 50 though, because more makes it a bit darker. I have my adaptive sharpen at 40 because I use anti-aliasing. Adaptive sharpen just makes the game look a bit sharper to counteract the anti-aliasing effect, because I like my game to look sharp. However, if you like your game softer, of course, turn this down to 0. My color grading, I use Clifton with an intensity of 10. You do not have to copy the exact color grading I use because it's completely preference. Like, you could use Bayswater at 10, but I just recommend using every one of these at the intensity of 10, because any more may look a bit drawn out. Maybe some may have exceptions, like this one I'd probably put at 2 or something, or 5 maybe. Yeah, 5 is like okay, but I personally like Clifton as it provides a nice look to the game. This is what the game looks like with my post effects on and my post effects off. Just note that my recording software has a bit of gamma and contrast on it, which I'll explain how to get through NVIDIA Control Panel. Moving on to NVIDIA Control Panel, go to the Change Resolution tab, scroll down until you see Apply the following settings. You'll see use default color settings or use NVIDIA color settings. I use NVIDIA color settings. The colors look a lot better than default color settings in my opinion. And once you're done with that, you can go to adjust desktop color settings. This is where the magic happens. I personally have my contrast at 55% with a gamma of 1.9. And for digital vibrance, I have it at 85%. It's hard for me to show you exactly what my monitor looks like as these settings don't show on the recording. However, I've replicated as best as I can using OBS. Your game should roughly look like this. I find that increasing the gamma or contrast too much makes the game a bit washed out or a bit too bright for my eyes, so that's why I put my gamma lower than most people. Most people would put their gamma higher, maybe 2+, but I don't, personally. But you can play with these settings and find your preference. Lastly, let's move on to some tips for keybinds when PvPing. To start in my keybinds, I would firstly change your lean right and lean left keys to press. When leaning, it's a lot easier to just tap the key and be able to have the rest of your fingers free for your movement. I find that having to hold the key really hinders my ability to move when leaning. Moving on next, we have the sprint, which is usually set to press. I would change this to continuous. I see a lot of new players sliding when they run, due to them having their run on press. When they try and stop, they usually just slide like that. Having this set to continuous will let you just stop running without that slide. Next, we have our jump and vaulting keys. I would make these separate, however, it is preference. Some people do like to have them the same, but I have these separate as I jump a lot. And when you have two keys on the same button, for example, vaulting and jumping, it puts a delay on the jump. Getting rid of these connected keys will allow you to jump a lot faster. So if I want to jump right here, I know that I will jump as soon as I press space. If I had the delay, I would probably jump maybe right there, which can make a difference in fights. Moving on to switch fire mode, I usually set my switch fire mode to full auto as a single tap press on B, and switching the fire mode to the next fire mode as double tap B, as it's better to just have your gun on full auto at all times and control your rate of fire by just tapping your mouse. I find, at least for myself. It gives that safety knowing that you don't have to press your button a lot to be on full auto. The next important setting I would change is scope zoom in and scope zoom out. I would change this to what your next and previous buttons would be. So currently I have my next and previous buttons as alt mouse scroll, which is the default for scope zoom in, scope zoom out. I just alternated them because I find having this smooth zoom in is a lot more useful, as when you're fighting someone, this click, some guns have this click worse, but this click can make a big difference when you're shooting. Having the smooth zoom in to shoot gets rid of that click and allows you to shoot straight while you're zooming in. You will find that when you're scrolling up and down your inventory, your scope will change magnification, but you can just fix that by pressing your change magnification key after looting. The next thing I do not use is quick reload, as I don't find it very useful, as since these are bound on the same key again, same logic applied to the vaulting, there's a delay, so just having a normal reload with no delay I find is the same speed as having to double tap R or anything like that. Obviously you can make it faster by making a separate keybind altogether, like Control R or something, but it's hard for me to find a non-conflicting keybind which doesn't hinder any other keybind to make a quick reload keybind. So I personally just use reload. The next keybind I would suggest you make a priority is toggling your tactical devices. When playing, you shouldn't have your flashlights on all the time because they shine through walls. I know it's stupid, but they shine through walls and people can see them and see you coming. Like say you're coming around a corner, they see your flashlight. It's much better to have it to an easy keybind, which is easily accessible, and just go around the corner and turn it on. And it's good to make it a habit to turn your flashlight on and off without having it just on all the time, as it makes you like a walking shoot me target. But being a lot more conscious of your decisions and when you should turn on your device is a lot better. When turning on your device, you do get an accuracy buff no matter what kind of device it is. A hipfire accuracy buff to be precise. So if I were to shoot without this thing on, it's kind of hard to show on this, but the accuracy is a lot worse than if you had it on. As you can see, when I fire with this flashlight on, it's just on the dot. Here it goes up a bit. So it's good to make a conscious decision to turn your flashlight on and off, or laser. The last control I would change is the discard. I would make it something also easily accessible, as, you know, you're looting a lot in this game. It's really good to just be able to throw shit away when you don't need it. Like, you don't have to like go right click, especially when you're looting. When you're looting, you can't right click discard, but you can use your keybind to delete everything, if that makes sense. Thank you to everyone who watched this video. I hope these keybinds and settings helped you. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and like, so I can push past the algorithm. If you'd like any more videos like this in the future, or any other guides regarding anything related to Tarkov, let me know. Thank you for watching. By the way, I have a Discord link in bio.